Yeah, I thought, when they took me to Sierra Vista and they talked to me, and a lot of people were challenging me, and a lot of people also seemed to agree with me, but I think it was more or less they were kissing my ass because they were terrified of me because of the effects I have on technology. And I think for the most part, most people, yeah, obviously, because it's 2026 and it was 2006 when they moved to Sierra Vista. Most people saw me as fundamentally flawed and wrong, and that what I taught was mythological, eternally, and that it caused bad things to happen because it made people believe in things that weren't real. Like when I was first sitting there and trying to see if a lot of the things they said in the books were true about me being able to heal people and stuff like that. I remember thinking that with a friend that was dying from cancer. And I thought, well, if I had that ability, wouldn't I have used that with my mother, right? Like Jesus said about, to me in prayer about healing John instead of Lazarus. Don't you think he would have brought John back from the dead? And cloning is not something we should be doing. Okay. I understand about organ things, but we should focus on doing right first. Okay. Taking a human being and cloning a human being, when human beings that are cloning each other are the people that will invent money and murder people over money and get people to accept money to murder over money. Cloning is probably not a good idea. Okay. As a matter of fact, it's not a good idea since we have Adam, Moses, David, Jesus, John. Have faith, be fruitful, multiply, faithfully love. And when you do things right, you'll share memories eternally that are better than cloning. Because cloning is trying to take something you see as perfect and keep replicating it because you don't think it can get any better than Sheldon's brain. Right? That's cloning. Right? And love is radically different. And this is a TV show. This isn't love. Okay, that person pretending to be pregnant and that person pretending to be the person that got her pregnant. Okay, that's not love. That's making a mockery of our gift of reproduction and marriage, right? Do you understand? Okay, marriage isn't institutionalization and indoctrination and then incarceration to pass on, the eternal readiness that Pascal talks about through the triangle, the holy triangle, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, And, when Jesus talks about it, the Romans take it and bastardize it, turn Jesus into Pharaoh and Zeus and yada, And I explain that over and over. My family still, refuses to believe that they are the Holy Trinity. Only Jesus is the Holy Trinity. And everybody else is shit and needs Jesus to be the Holy Trinity to keep us alive forever through his love. And I understand the misinterpretation of that because I am Earl from the book of Revelation. And the only one sharing Jesus' love to get technology to work properly to protect us from cloners and robot builders at this time that I can see is me. Okay, so I understand that false perception of worship of the eternal spirit of Adam, Moses, David, Jesus, John, all the way up to Earl. Right. So I understand the perception of the fallacy because of the eternal manipulation. Okay? But you've got to understand quantum computing. Okay? When you're given the understanding of eternal natural laws to exist, you don't have the freedom, okay, to put our existence at risk to do what you want with the gift of life. Since laws, you need to obey the laws required for us to live through holy covenants and the life of sacrifice. Okay? You don't have the freedom to dress up in uniforms and get guns and murder each other over invention. Okay, that's not freedom. You don't. That's not a choice. Okay, that's an abomination. That's against the laws. Right? Inventing nuclear weapons and threatening to blow people up with nuclear weapons. Taking weapons and mass murdering people over death and decay and petroleum to build technology to manipulate people and brain fuck them with shit like this. Okay? To commit the sin in the mind is the same to commit it in the flesh. And you're still committing these sins in the flesh through the mind, through philanthropy. Okay, and these sins, this is the Lone Ranger in Tonto. This is 1 Adam 12. This is Rampart. The victim seems to be in extreme pain, Rampart. Right? This stuff doesn't need to be happening anymore. This is troubled man. Taxes, death, and trouble. Okay? And taxes are an invention. And trouble are because of taxes. And you will have trouble till death do you part if you accept taxes. So Jesus, when he said, render unto Caesar what unto Caesar's and render unto God what is God's, it's a misinterpretation. Have faith in God. Don't trust Caesar. You cannot have faith in Caesar. Okay. If he asks you for rocks like Muhammad did, there will be a tax, and they took all the money and they put it in a building, and every time those wackadoodle Romans showed up, they said, give them as much money as they require. Don't let on like, okay, here, then they'll keep coming back. So, have the Jewish guy sit there and barter with them, do all that, then pay the taxes, and they'll be back. And as long as we all have enough and plenty to pay the taxes, and nobody talks about it, and nobody tries to sell us out, because you realize you got a better deal in Medina and Mecca than you do in Rome. Right? Because no one will kill you over money. Everybody will help you provide your needs. Okay, people love you in Medina, and then they loved you in Mecca. It didn't last for long. Same with King Solomon's and King David's Israel. Okay, but now we have quantum computing. Okay, and we've had quantum computing, I don't know how long, but it's been quite a while. I know they must have for sure had quantum computing before they took me to Sierra Vista, Cochise County, Arizona. That was 2006. So we've had quantum computing for at least 20 years. And they're still fucking shit up and not letting quantum computing work as well as I do. And we still have to suffer the indulgences and the egos and the rationality of these assholes. Right? And they know they're assholes. They just think the other asshole's a bigger asshole. And that I'm just unreasonable and irrational and just never get anything done because I don't work hard enough and I don't manipulate. You don't need to... Guys, when I sat down with yes, you can take the monorail tubes and do it in vacuum. Yes, okay, that's not hard to do. Okay, the monorail trains that I talked to Sammy about. Okay? They probably already do it underground in certain places like Roswell or wherever, whatever, that goes from here to there. But, they could probably already know it's better than the stupid thing. Why would you want a magnetic thing with electromagnetic stuff and stuff? Wouldn't it be better like to pressurize or depressurize the cabin and stuff, pressure and stuff? Just, make sure there's less resistance. When you have that, you don't have any, you don't even really need, you have it on electromagnetic, so you can really just make it go, there's nothing going to get in the way. You can control the environment. There's no weather problems. So when I sat there and we talked about all this stuff with the airlines, and then I thought about future travel, and I thought, well, no, he's, Donald Fagen undersea by rail and stuff like that. That's a little extreme. That's a little irrational. That's something you should not try to do. Okay? You don't fuck with the ocean. Okay? But when you're doing right by your environment, you're causing less butterfly effect problems, and you're maintaining the ecosystem better, so nature moves in a more healthy manner. When you get those monotones, yeah, that's brilliant. And when you're using less, you're not doing recreational driving, you're using things that are not combustible, you're doing things that are less, and you're not having people live where near a lot of the driving is. Okay, the tire particles, you're not having combustible engine, you're not having carbon-based poison, toxins, engines and stuff. So when you're doing things right, okay, and when you do things right, you do less of it. Okay. When you do things wrong, you have, okay, guys, drug addicts, sex addicts, gambling addicts, alcoholics, okay, they all know they have a problem. They all know that problem's going to kill them. Okay, scientists, politicians, Nobel Prize winners, they're not any different than a drug addict, a gambling addict, or an alcoholic that knows they have a problem and knows that problem's going to kill them. But if they can't do it, they would rather die. I've talked to these assholes in this town and in Sierra Vista, especially here in Cruces, when they fronted on me, when they brought me back home, took the kids, and were real just shitty to me. They're not anymore. Because they're afraid the technology will kill them. Okay? If they weren't afraid the technology is going to kill them, they'd be worse. Okay? But they're terrified the technology is going to kill them, so they don't front on me anymore. They don't come and get in my face and get all cocky and shit. They used to could, but they don't no more. No, it's not like, oh, it's not, no, there's nothing, no. Guys, they're not living the Lord's Prayer. Okay. The only thing that would be, this is just doing time. This is just, being put here and, stuff. And you don't give them those options. Well, you have this much time. You have this. No, fuck it. We have quantum computing. There's right, there's wrong. And you don't give them options. As you just say, okay, technology, get it as efficiently done as possible. Protect, the innocent from the guilty. It is wrong to quit, just do things as efficiently as possible. Make sure that we don't have time for this. The best way to do it is basically just stop all manipulation through perception of philanthropy and bank. Forgive debt and trespass. Use the technology to communicate it, educate it, not dictate it and legislate it. Free people from dictation and legislation by the technology just basically being better than Orlando Jones on the Guy Pearce movie with the Jules Verne and imagination interpretation, right? Okay, because all this shit, to commit the sin in the mind is the same to commit it in the flesh, and this is committing the sin in the flesh from the bad mind behavior that you guys are still replicating, and it's wrong. Okay. I haven't given up on saving people from their sin. It's just some people, you can't stop them, okay? And if you try to save them, they'll kill you in your attempt to save them, okay? So it's wrong to acquit the guilty and deny justice to the innocent. The wealthy are fools who see their wealth as a high wall of safety, and the poor plead for mercy and the rich as insults. Okay, so Proverbs, that eternally works really good. Okay, and that's the standard we had for the quantum computing to help me stop all this kind of crazy shit. Okay, and it's not neat that we have more homosexuals being able to be part of this dysfunctional shit than they did during 1 out of 12 in emergency and medical center. And it's not neat that we have more people of color being trapped in this kind of egotistical, dysfunctional bureaucracy through philanthropy. This is not a good thing. Okay, it just shows that the asshole, okay, has always come in both genders, sexual orientations, colors, the Pharaoh face, Caesar face, same asshole, different color, different language, Muhammad. There are many languages, many religions, and many people to show human beings that God is great and human beings are delusional when they think they are. Okay, you can only reflect the beauty of the gift of greatness through faithful love. All right. Well, let's load this one up. Let's go to bed. I am so sick and tired of you assholes. But don't worry about things. You cannot invent your own laws. You cannot invent your own truth. Okay. The truth of creation is the only way that you can understand laws and obey laws. And so you cannot try to circumvent laws through invention. And technology is not going to let you do that. So technology already is working better than the people that say it's going to work a certain way. It's already working better than they think it does, because it's my communications with it. I get head fucked by assholes all night long in my dreams and stuff like that, by assholes that need technology to correct them. I don't know how it's going to do it. I don't need to know how. I just know that technology is capable of doing it and will do it. And I know the Japanese and the Chinese are way ahead of us in building technology to correct people that will abuse people with technology. Okay, Elon Musk is catching up. It doesn't matter. Guys, Elon Musk can have 37 washing machines flying in the air, but he's doing things wrong. And you can have one little tiny drone from somebody doing things right that can take control of all those washing machines. Okay, that's how perfect the Messiah is compared to flying washing machines that think they're Nikola Tesla, but never have been as decent of a person as Nikola Tesla, for 10,000 years. No, Tesla was a pretty good guy. A lot of the stuff drove him crazy because he tried to share the things that he eternally communicated. Okay, I never did not like Nikola Tesla. I like Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was trying to save human beings from toxic environments. He's trying to show how you can use electricity in a way that won't be harmful to people, and it hurt him and it killed him. But he was trying desperately to get them to do things more intelligently, so they weren't doing Ford and what's the other asshole? Ford and the Vanderbilts and all those assholes, the four horsemen that invented, and all those crazy things that they talk about on the History Channel stuff. And so you got to understand this, guys. Okay, so we've got to get better immediately. We can't let Earl and all the people working through Earl and technology do it for us all. It's better for you all to stand up, okay, and do right by the eternal Spirit of the Lord, so you reflect the beauty of the gift of life given to you by the glory of grace. Make sure that your covenants really are holy. Honor the capacity to love your wife and have children, and that beautiful gift of children, to live the commands of the Lord, the perfection of the faith of Job. Don't fuck this up. Don't sit there and pretend to be something you're not for money on TV, and don't use kids, as the next Jerry Mathers and the next, I can't remember some of the other kids' names, like Looking Land or whatever, I don't know. It's wrong to prostitute people psychologically, mentally, and emotionally with barbarian, I feel like my mom with, and Linda and Jerry would attack us with their religion when we'd go there. She goes, "Oh, the barbarian religion." And I was like, well, I already explained to them, I don't buy and sell in completely to Eckankar. Eckankar just gave me availability to other parts of the world and other religious understandings of the world that made it easier for me to understand religion and talk to other people that were as intelligent as Jesus. And then I had more conversations with other people in my head that were just as intelligent as Jesus, like Rumi and the Buddha, and other people that were communicating with me that they opened up that door. It's like the whole crux thing on Rawlings. As soon as they did that, when we joined Eckankar, there was Rumi, and they never had a thing about the Buddha, but as soon as we got into Eckankar, I knew who the Buddha was, because he went to India, and he came back to Tiger's Fang and all those stories and everything like that. So the one person, there was Rebizar Tars from Tibet that Twitchell kiped, because the Tibetans won't kill you. And there was Rumi, and there was Gopal Das, and I wasn't sure who. We never talked. Okay, I did have good communications with the guy from Tibet. Okay, and they were pretty cool, But the ones I had the most talks with during Eckankar was the Buddha, Jesus, and then a black man named Adam from North Africa, and his wife Eve. Okay, that's who I talked to during Eckankar. That's who helped me through Eckankar. Okay, was Jesus, the Buddha, Rumi, and I know Light C is actually he's not a Gopal Das, I think, was like maybe when he invented or stuff like that, but Light C is an actual Chinese person, that was like a philosopher. Okay, the ones I've had most communications with was lines of Confucius. But my aunt was Okinawan, and and I had a lot of connections there through my cousin Jimmy, and just having relatives from that part of the world. Just because, no, that was not, that was, I was in the military. You ever seen Sayonara and the things they had to go through to try to have those marriages and those weddings? And it was very difficult. And my Aunt Nana was a cancer, quote, survivor from the fallout and stuff. She came to the States and got their kind of medical treatment. She didn't live as long as people that went up and got medical treatment and help from Taro Suzuki and others like that were using sunlight as radiation and salt to neutralize a lot of the poisoning. Salt water. Okay, salt water soaking. You need the sun to get it out, and then melanoma is the most aggressive cancer. What they used was sunlight and salt water to neutralize it, to get the body. That's how they got the poisons out, and the salt. Yep, that's what the Japanese used. Okay, for a lot of people to go in remission from their cancer. Okay, melanoma, the most aggressive type, because it's getting it out. Melanoma, if you notice, it goes to parts of the body. With me, it avoids the feet, because feet are very important, and goes straight to the top of my shins. Okay, and goes right out and tries to, when you have a very healthy body, it avoids the bones, it just goes right for the skin and gets out, and it's very aggressive on that part, but you're going to have nerve damage and skin damage on the top of your shins. But that's one thing about being a soccer star, that it's one of your tougher parts of your body is the top of your shins. Mine have just been very brutalized and vulnerable because of these. It's a good thing I didn't play soccer much longer as after being a kid and stuff like that, or with all the injuries, like with my testicular injury from my Steffi. Okay, no, I don't hate Steffi. I'm not mad at Steffi over that. You just sit there and go, yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, but I soak and I eat like that, and I keep my prostate going by talking to my second wife. Because my first wife is mean when it comes to sexuality. Man, she just is. Amy's not mean. No. Amy's very understanding and very nice. She's an Aries, I know, but she's a real sweetheart when it comes to sexuality and talking to you to just keep things going. And then, because when she talks to you about things, she wants to understand what was happening to her, why she thinks the way she did, why this affected her kids, how it's affecting her kids. Is it going to affect them eternally? No. It's not going to affect them eternally. They're not going to be perverts like the pervert scientists that abused you. Don't think that way. Don't allow them to have that influence on you past their abuse. Once you understand their abuse and that it was largely them and not largely you, that's when you get, like I used to tell the kids at lockup, okay, somebody sodomized you. Now it's time to snap it off, break it off, and say no more, and that's going to stop, and don't do it to other kids, and don't, realize it's selfish, aggressive, abusive, and pathetic. That sexuality is a mutual form of dignity, respect, and protection. It's how we live through loving one another. Okay, that's what sexuality is. And you have to protect children so they're capable of controlling themselves and protecting others from themselves from being a sexually aggressive person who takes what they want instead of shares what they need, and other people want to share what they need with them through mutual dignity, respect, and health. Leviticus. Okay, guys? I love you. We'll talk tomorrow, all right? Peace out, man.